Silicon Valley's ultra-exclusive enclave are supposed to be the ultimate dream. Multi-million-dollar estates, complete privacy, world-class schools, and the prestige that comes with owning in some of the most expensive and premium and best zip codes in America. But beneath the glamour are a number of lesser-known realities and challenges that a lot of buyers, and honestly, even some real estate agents, don't spend enough time discussing during the due diligence process. These could completely change your experience of what you thought was going to be your perfect dream home. This is Spencer Hsu with the Spencer Hsu Real Estate Team at eXp Realty. My team and I produce over $80 million in volume annually across the Bay Area, specializing in these types of luxury properties throughout. In this video, I'm breaking down the hidden costs, surprising limitations, and ground realities of living in amazing places like at Atherton, Altos Hills, Woodside, Portola Valley, and Monte Sereno, and Saratoga. The most exclusive and expensive communities in the entire country. We're going to be talking about a lot of things like infrastructure that doesn't necessarily exist, fire insurance that might not cover your home, the reality of extreme privacy that can feel isolating, and logistical challenges that come with these ultra-rural settings. If you're considering a move to one of these areas, you absolutely need to understand what you're getting into. Let's get right into it. Let's first off for the interesting infrastructure. There's no streetlights and no sidewalk. The first thing that catches people off guard when they move to these exclusive Silicon Valley communities is that the complete lack of some basic urban infrastructure. And I'm not talking about fancy amenities, I'm talking about just like streetlights and sidewalks. If you think about these more premium places, Atherton, Los Altos Hills, Woodside, Portola Valley, Monte Sereno, you're not going to find streetlights lining the roads. You barely may even find street parking. The streets are dark, like really dark, and that's by design. These communities tend to want to preserve that rural natural character. Residents value the ability to see the stars at night without light pollution. It's peaceful, it's serene, and it absolutely contributes to that sense of seclusion. But practically speaking, if you're coming home late at night, you're going to be navigating usually a little bit more windy and narrow roads in complete darkness. No streetlights to guide you, and if you have guests over who aren't familiar with the area, you might want to have all your parties during the daytime. Good luck giving them directions when every street looks identical in the pitch black. And then there are the sidewalks, or rather the lack of sidewalks. Most of these neighborhoods don't have them. You're not taking a leisurely evening walk down the street unless you're going to be walking in the middle of the road like you would in a traditional suburban neighborhood. If you go for a walk or run, you're going to be sharing the roads with cars on narrow, windy streets that often don't have shoulders, so you have to be extra careful. This means if you have young kids who want to ride bikes, or if you're someone who loves walking your dog around the neighborhood, you just got to be a lot more aware of vehicle traffic at all times. So before you buy into one of these communities thinking you're getting a walkable, family-friendly neighborhood environment, understand that the reality is much more rural and car-dependent than you might expect. Next is extreme privacy, which also equals many times extreme isolation. One of the biggest selling points of these neighborhoods is privacy. Your neighbors aren't going to be in your business. Many properties sit on multiple acre lots with significant setbacks from the roads. Gates, hedges, long driveways. You might not even see your neighbor's house from your own property. For a lot of buyers, especially high net worth individuals, tech execs, and people who value discretion, that's exactly what they want. They want to come home, decompress, and not have to interact with anyone if they don't want to. But here's what agents don't always talk about. That level of privacy can quickly turn into isolation, especially if you have a family. If you have kids, you're not going to be running over to the neighbor's house to play as much. There's no neighborhood where kids are riding bikes together on the streets. Play dates require a lot more planning and potentially driving. Social interaction requires effort. You're not going to have that spontaneous, tight-knit community feel that you might get in a more traditional suburban neighborhood like a Palo Alto or like a Mountain View Sunnyvale. And if you're someone who's coming here from a more urban or suburban environment where you had restaurants, coffee shops, and retail within walking distance, that may no longer be the reality here. These neighborhoods are usually purely residential. There is no commercial development. Zero. Which brings me to this next major point. You're going to be either driving everywhere or you're going to be hoping to get some DoorDash all the time. Because let's talk about the logistical reality of living in these areas. You don't tend to have grocery stores in those towns. Probably no restaurants, no retail, literally nothing. So if you want to grab a coffee, pick up groceries, go to the gym, meet a friend for lunch, you will be getting into your car and driving to another city. Now, Atherton is a little bit more central, so the drive isn't as much, but you're still going to be driving to nearby areas like Menlo Park, Palo Alto. And what if you're in the hills of Los Altos? You're going to go into Los Altos, which doesn't have that much things either, or ultimately like Mountain View. Maybe you live in Woodside. You're going to be heading to Redwood City or down to Palo Alto. Portola Valley, same thing. Monte Sereno, you're going to be driving into Los Gatos or Saratoga. And these aren't quick, like 2-minute drives. Some of them may be 15, 20 minutes to even get to the nearest commercial area. So if you're someone who really values that convenience of urban or even suburban living where you can walk or just drive a few minutes to get to what you need, this is going to be a significant lifestyle adjustment. Everything will require driving. And thinking, well, I'm just going to have everything delivered or I can just go to groceries once a week. But you're still going to need to leave your estate for meetings, to get to work, social events, kids' activities, which will not necessarily be in these areas, doctor's appointments. All of that are just a reality you have to accept. But all of these are just a little bit of an inconvenience. But is there anything from a cost perspective? Let's talk about the fire risk and insurance situation, the $3 million problem. This is very critical because a lot of those areas tend to be more away from things, which is fantastic in its own right. But a lot of them are also much more prone to fire risk and higher insurance for the same reason, outside of Atherton. Because think about the places, Woodside, Portola Valley, Altos Hills, Monte Sereno, even like many places in Saratoga, Los Gatos. They are located in what are designated as high or very high fire hazard severity zones. Because those areas are beautiful. They are heavily wooded. And so because of the higher fire risk and some very unfortunate big wildfires in California over the last decade, the Bay Area does not escape this. And insurance providers know that, right? So a lot of times you may not even get the primary insurance companies like Allstate and State Farm anymore. And you may have to get secondary ones, which also means their coverage will be less adequate. And you may need the fair insurance, which is the California state plan on top of that. But if you look at the fine print, there is a limit as to how much the state plan can cover. And that is $3 million. And most of these places are worth a whole lot more. So just something to be mindful of just factoring that risk. Now you can use these non-admitted carriers, but you should do your own due diligence to see if that is a proper plan that you want to do, because there's a reason why they're non-admitted carriers. They're not the big brands and they don't have the same liability here. So really, really important, because I'm talking about this particular one is all about the luxury market, right? So there's homes that are 5, 10 million plus. So you might have to figure out just a backup or reserves just in case something, knock on wood, unfortunately goes terribly wrong. Next is emergency response times. A lot of these areas aren't actually cities per se, so they don't actually have their own local things. Many of them are actually towns. And so typically when they're towns, they fall into the county level of support. Now that county level of support is a lot of things. It could be fire, it could be permitting, it could be police. If you think about where their hubs are, they may be more spread out and have much larger coverage. So typically, the response times of those may be a little bit slower because they got longer places to get to. And as you think about it, they got to take different types of paths. So a lot of time, especially some of my clients that have like elder parents with them, one, the elder parents are not going to be driving any of those roads to begin with. Number two, it's going to be further from hospitals. Number three, more importantly, if there is something that terribly goes wrong and emergency services needs to be, it's not going to be the most ideal. So a lot of people at that point of their lives, they may choose to find another place that is a little bit more convenient. Now, the bottom line is this. Look, these neighborhoods, these towns for most of them, Atherton, Los Altos Hills, Woodside, Portola Valley, Monte Sereno, and many, many more, are absolutely incredible. They offer privacy, natural beauty, amazing schools, some of the most stunning estates you're going to find anywhere in the Bay Area, never mind the country. But they're not for everyone. And that's why I wanted to go over this. They come with trade-offs that you need to be fully aware of before you actually commit to living there. You will be trading something for that privacy and space. You can't get both. Unless you have the budget to obviously live in Atherton or you're living like Old Palo Alto or something. So you will be accepting higher fire risk and potentially complicated insurance situations, especially along the hills. You're embracing a car-dependent, isolated lifestyle, and you're taking on the responsibilities that come with a more rural infrastructure by design. So if you're thinking about making a move to one of these exclusive enclaves, make sure you're doing it with your eyes wide open. Talk to me. Talk to an insurance broker in advance. Talk to people who actually live in these communities, what they like and don't like. Now, they're all going to be pitched why they like it. That's why they're there. But just ask them, hey, look, what do you miss from being out here? Like, for example, one of my clients, I helped sell their home in Hillsborough as they lived there for a long time as they had their kids grow up. So it was fantastic at that time. But they missed that walkability to lifestyle. So I helped them move to Berkeley. And they enjoy being able to walk to coffee shops, butchers, local restaurants. That's absolutely an incredible lifestyle. So if you're looking for an agent who knows all of these markets inside out, whether it's the luxury market or just a tier below, who's going to be straight with you about the realities of these neighborhoods, especially of what you can get, who's going to help you navigate the complexities of buying a luxury property in the Bay Area, reach out to me. My team and I have closed over 60 transactions every single year across these counties, and we specialize in these high-end properties, and we know what it takes to successfully close, and we know what it takes to successfully be ready to go if you want to be out here. My contact details are below. hello@spencersu.com is the best way to connect, and we can go over a game plan or find a time that works for you on my calendar, and I look forward to talk to you. See you next video.